Hello, everyone, and welcome to part two of week seven's review of class activities. Okay, I made two videos this week because I didn't want to have one video that was too long, so you can watch each one separately. Okay, so we're going to review in this video the assignment, your last technology assignment for week seven, which is working with CSS and completing the selectoral CSS tutorials. Okay. Now, with this assignment, you will not be working with lynda.com. Okay. So you'll be reading a lot, and then you'll be performing a tutorial here at the end. Okay. So I have the selectoral opened up. When you click this link right here, it's going to open up this web page right here. Okay. And you'll have all of this content that you're going to need to read through. So basically what this does is describe to you what cascading style sheets are. And it goes through every little aspect of cascading style sheets, starting with the definition of what they are, what rules are, how they work in terms of the document tree, what are the individual components that make up a cascading style sheet, and then after you read through all this information, it has you actually create a web page using the cascading style sheets. But it goes through creating that web page step by step. So I've had a question or a couple of questions this week about how do you get started on this tutorial. So I'm going to review with you how to get started on the tutorial, and hopefully it'll make a lot more sense. Okay, so what I do recommend though is if you're reading through this documentation and at any point you get confused or you're unsure, that you also reference the W3 Schools section on CSS. Okay, and that's located under the CSS button here, and you click that and it'll bring you into the W3 Schools. Okay, and you can reference that information there. Okay, I had this up for a reason. Okay, so let's go back to here. So basically what you're going to do is first read through all this information and read through it slowly because it makes references to how you're going to interact with HTML and how CSS and HTML work together. You can't have one without the other. Well, actually you can have HTML without CSS, but it's not very pretty. And you'll see why in a minute here. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and jump back here to eCampus and talk about the assignment. All right, so as stated here, you'll read through this documentation. The next thing you'll do is you'll click and download this link right here. Click and download this link for materials to complete this tutorial. So you're going to click this link and it's going to download to your downloads folder a folder. Okay, and that folder will look like this. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and close out of that. And let's see, your folder will look like this one right here that's highlighted in blue. Actually, it'll look like this one. Okay, yeah, right here. So when it downloads, you're going to get a week 7 tutorial images.zip file. Okay, you'll double click that zip file and it'll open up this folder here, week 7 tutorial images, and inside that that folder will be a bunch of JPEG images that look like this, and they'll be called more base, more call base, and so on. Okay, what I suggest you do is what's listed here in the eCampus, that once you download that folder, that you change the name of that folder, that one that's called week 7 tutorial images, it's listed right here, you change the name of that to your last name underscore CSS tutorial. Okay, so that's basically going to become your working folder for this tutorial. Okay, so you'll save all your content, and really the only content you're going to end up with from this tutorial is one HTML file, and you're going to save that HTML file as I stated right here. Oh, sorry, I can't highlight it. As I stated right here in this circled area, you need to save that HTML file right here into this folder with your last name underscore CSS tutorial. Okay, so let's go back to here and look at what we will get. We'll get a folder like this. Inside there, you'll get a bunch of images, and when you complete the tutorial, you'll save your HTML file in there. Okay? All right, now that's just getting yourself set up on your local hard drive. Once you get yourself set up on the local hard drive, you need to link to this folder in Dreamweaver so that you can complete the tutorial. So let's go into Dreamweaver. And what I've done here is I've already gone ahead and done that. If you notice right here, I have created a site. Now, how did I do that? Basically, all I did was I went to Site, New Site, and if you see, well, actually, we'll go in here, Manage Sites, so you can see it. Under Manage Sites, you see that I have a site in here called Gabriel_CSS tutorial. That's the folder that I just named on my hard drive, okay? And once I've done that, then it shows up here in Dreamweaver, okay? So everybody should know how to do that. Just real quick, I'll review that. You go Site, New Site, and you'll get a new window like this, and you can go ahead and label that with your last name, CSS tutorial. Okay, so you're labeling the name of your site in Dreamweaver is what you did here. You'll click the folder, and you're going to go out and find that folder. Where is it? Okay. Let's see. I think, where did I put it? Okay. I believe, yeah, I'm not sure. See, I'm already doing what you shouldn't do, is forget where you put it. But let's just pretend this is it here, okay? Because I'm not actually going to full out okay this because I've already done it once. But let's pretend that this was my, my tutorial folder. I would just select it, choose it, and it would come up as a site here. Now, I'm not going to go ahead and okay this because I already have it done. That's why I'm getting an X here on this. I'm going to cancel this. And once I do that, it will show up in Dreamweaver here. Okay, so now I have the folder right here in my managed sites. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and look at this. Okay, so if I double click this, you'll see here, this is the one I created, Gabriel_CSS tutorial, and then this is the path right here to where that folder lives. And I'm going to look because I can't remember where I put it. Oh, week 7, last name. Okay, eCampus, web design. Okay, that's where I put it. Okay, so, oh, I did. I just linked it to the last name one. I just didn't name it. Okay? Okay, so once I did that, it now shows up here in Dreamweaver, and I've got all those images, and I actually have the final one in here. I'm going to go ahead and double click this. You can see over here. When you finish that tutorial, you will end up with this right here. Okay, this is the finished tutorial. This is what it looks like. This is what yours should look like when you're finished. Okay, and this is what your site should look like in Dreamweaver when you're finished. You'll have all of those images that you're going to use during the tutorial, as well as you'll have your final document that you save out, your HTML document, saved in here. And that'll all be saved inside of a folder with your last name _CSS tutorial. Very important that you name it, because if you don't name it, then I don't know whose work it is. Okay? All right. So let's go over then how to get started on this tutorial. Okay? The first thing is to first create your site. That's the most important thing to get started with. Okay? I'm going to leave this open because I might refer to it. But ultimately, over here, looking at the code view, all of the code that's in this code view, you're going to end up creating during the course of that tutorial. So just so you know, that is the process we're going to start with here. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the selectorial here and click on the introduction. So basically what it says here is, you know, a little introduction about what you're about to do, what kind of layout you're going to create, and it even gives you a finished sample. So if you click this, you'll see that that was what I just showed you in Dreamweaver, the exact same thing. So it's basically telling you this is what you're going to create, and we're going to go through it step by step with you. Okay. So you click on step 1 and you begin. Now, to get started on this, what they don't tell you here is that you first have to start a clean, fresh HTML document in Dreamweaver. You will be doing this entire tutorial in Dreamweaver. Okay, so let's go back to Dreamweaver, and I'm going to go ahead and create a new HTML document in Dreamweaver. Okay, so to do that, I just go File, New, and up at the top here, I'm just going to make sure this says blank HTML. I don't want any layout. I just want it to say none, and make sure that your doc type is set to XHTML1 transitional, and hit create. Okay. So basically all this did was create a simple blank HTML document for you. Okay. Of course, they don't tell you over here in this tutorial to do that because they assume that you know that you need to create a blank HTML. Okay, so that's what you just did here. Okay. Now, when you do a blank, when you create a blank HTML document in Dreamweaver, it puts some code in here. Like, for instance, you know, some information in the head. It also gives it a title, and if you wanted to, you can go ahead and say, and I would suggest doing that, I would say, select this title region in your code mode here, and you could type in your name in the title. So this will be Lisa's CSS tutorial. Okay, so you can go ahead and type in your name in here. Okay, if I refresh this, notice that that now is in the title field over here. Okay, all right, so we don't have anything else in here other than some closing tags. We have that's our head information. Okay, but we are going to put something else in our head, and we're going to talk about that in a second. Okay, so let's go back here. Now what it says here is, here's your HTML, okay, but this is not the complete HTML, but it's basically talking about how you're going to break down the different regions of your website into these individual divs. Now you've read about HTML already. You should understand what a division is and what they're for. They are areas of the website that break down the content. So you've got a div for the banner, you've got a container, and then inside that container you have another container, and then you have your navigation, you have more, which is in reference to more content, you have a content region, and you have a footer. And this clear div here will clear out any previous coding so that your footer knocks over to the left is basically what that does. Okay. So just looking at this and understanding how this is broken down, they're telling you they're going to build on this. So at this point, you don't have to do anything but read. Okay, click step 2. Okay, now at step 2, they actually give you the complete HTML. Okay, so either you can go ahead and type all this HTML in by hand in your Dreamweaver file, or you can use the trusty copy and paste feature, which I'm sure you're all familiar with. So you're going to grab the HTML starting with the body and dragging down to the closed body tag. So at the open body tag down to the closed body tag, you're going to select that region. You're going to Command C on the Mac or Control C on the PC and go over to your Dreamweaver page. Okay, and you're going to select the body tag in your code view in Dreamweaver. Okay, because basically what you're going to do is you're going to overwrite this body tag with the body tag that you just copied from the selectorial here. You just started with body and copied down to the closed body tag. We're going to overwrite that here in our HTML document and do a paste. Okay. Make sure you do that because you can't have two body tags in an HTML document. Your HTML document will not work. And then you hit refresh down here, and you'll notice over here in your design view, let's go ahead and move that in, you now have some content. Now this is what the internet would look like if there was no CSS. All web pages would look this way. And actually, in the beginning of the internet, back in 1994, this is how all pages looked. Honestly, the whole internet was this boring. Nowadays, it's rich and colorful and animated and interactive, and all of that is brought on by cascading style sheets in JavaScript. That's what makes pages come alive today. So if we didn't learn CSS, this is all we would be able to produce. So that's why we're going to move forward with this selectorial so we can bring this page alive here. All right, so you've gone ahead and pasted in your HTML. Great. All right. If you want to view this, you can look at your, you can click the view button and it'll show you exactly what you just saw over here in Dreamweaver. Okay, exact same thing. Okay, so let's go to step 3. Now, what they don't tell you here in step 3 is something I'm going to tell you over in the Dreamweaver page. At step 3, you're going to get started on adding the cascading style sheets. But what they don't tell you is how to set up your HTML document for doing that. So we're going to go ahead and do that. So let's jump back here to HTML. And I'm going to reference the finished one here for a minute because we're gonna grab a piece of code from here. Okay, and this might be something you're just going to have to go ahead and type in on yours. So what we're going to go ahead and grab is this code right here. And if I could plus this up, no, I can't really zoom up. So hopefully you can see that. What I'm going to copy here is this tag called style, and I'm going to copy it all the way up to this quotation mark here. So I'm going to copy that. And I'm going to come back over here into my blank, I'm going to go over here into my blank HTML page. And basically what we're going to do is set up this HTML page to accept CSS coding. Okay, and in order to do that, we have to use this tag called style. Okay, and notice that this tag called style over here in this finish page has to be located within the head area. So here's the head area of my HTML page. I have to place that style tag right inside the head. So I'm going to go ahead and grab this tag and copy it. And I'm going to come over here in the head. All right, so put my cursor after the title and hit some spaces. All right, and so you get some room in your head. Notice that your close head tag is down here. We're going to start up here and we're going to paste this in. Okay, now you are going to have to type this in. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and close this tag right now. Okay, there we go. Okay, so whoops, wrong closing. There we go. Oh. Shift. There we go. Okay. So I have gone ahead and closed that tag, and then, not closed it, but I put my close bracket, and now I'm going to actually close the tag by doing a, whoops. I do know what I'm doing here, trust me. Okay, there, and then a slash. And it already detects that I have an open style tag. So basically, this is what you're going to have to type in. So at this point, you may want to stop the video and type this information into your HTML document. So you'll type in bracket style space type equals quotation text slash CSS quotation close bracket. And then you'll hit an return, and then you'll close that tag here. Okay? It's critical that you put this tag in there, or else none of your CSS will work. Okay? Okay, so now you've probably clicked the play again, so we're going to go ahead and refresh this. And notice over here, nothing's changed. All we've done is we've added an HTML tag over here. So now what we're going to do, I'm just kind of trying to get this organized. All right, so making sure that where you place that style tag is after the title and within the head region. So notice that my close head tag is down here. So this style tag needs to show up in here. Okay? All right. So now we can go back to the tutorial and we can begin our CSS. All right? So looking here and reading through what each one of these are going to do. So basically, to control the margin on this page, I have to set up this CSS here. So it describes each one of these areas and what you're controlling with that. So your margin is controlled by this CSS. The font size is controlled by this CSS. And the actual font family is controlled by this CSS. So basically they're explaining each addition to this CSS selector here. Okay? So at the end, they give you the whole thing. So at the end, you're changing the margin, you're zeroing it out, you're also applying a 90% font size, you're changing the color of the text, and you're assigning a color to the background. That's what you're doing here. So basically at this point, at the end of the tutorial, you want to go ahead and grab, again, the trusty copy and paste. We're going to grab this code, we're going to copy it, and we're going to go back over to Dreamweaver, and again, very important, we're going to put our cursor at the end of that style tag that we just added here in Dreamweaver. We're going to hit return, and we're going to paste that CSS inside of that style tag. And notice that it should look, in terms of color, you should have a pink body, and then the actual CSS will be in varied colors of blue with a closed bracket here at the end. Okay, so now if I hit refresh, notice that some things have happened. You've lost your margin here. The font size is sized down slightly. You can't really tell at this point that the background color has changed, but trust me, it has. Okay, so going back to the selectoral, you can look here in your view, this step, and you can sort of see that the same thing has happened here that has happened in your Dreamweaver page here. Okay. Okay, so let's go to step 4. And in step 4, it tells you what you're about to do. So what you're going to do in step 4 is you're going to actually set up how your navigation links are going to look. Okay, so when somebody sees the link, it'll be this color. Once they visit it, it's going to change to this color. And when they hover over it, it's going to change to these colors. Okay. So, and it explains it here. So we're going to go ahead and grab this code and the trusty copy, and we're going to go into Dreamweaver, and right after the bracket from the previous set of CSS, we're going to hit a return key, and we're going to paste that new code in there. Okay, and hit refresh. And notice a couple of things have changed. Things that were bright blue have now changed to a more muted blue, as you can kind of see here. And it also kind of talks about how, how you've made those changes. Notice we made a color change here. Now, if you look at the example, you are indeed looking like you should. Okay. All right, let's click on step number 5. Okay, step number 5, what's it telling us? Styling the banner. Okay, so for this, we're going to actually change the div. We're going to effect, so we're going to call out to the div banner, and we're going to make these changes. All right, so let's go ahead and copy that code and bring it over here into CSS and hit a couple of more returns, paste it in, and hit refresh, and notice now what has happened here. Okay, so what we've done just now is by saying div ID banner, basically it's calling out to this div. Okay, so this code right here is calling to this div, saying, hello div, I have some styling for you, and this is what it is. We're going to change the color of the text. We're going to change the background color of that div, and we're going to give it a bottom border, okay, of 1 pixel rule, okay? So once I pasted this code in there, notice that up here, that div, okay, this div banner right here is being affected by that CSS. So now our styling has changed. And if you go back to your example and look at step 5, notice here in step 5 that indeed it is doing what it's supposed to, exactly as you have here, okay? And I'm not going to go through this entire thing with you because it's going to take too long, but I'm just going to go far enough along so that you understand what you need to do with this. Okay, so notice again that we're remaining within inside the style tag that you typed in there originally, making sure that all of your CSS code goes within the confines of this tag, okay? All right, so now over here we're going to set the margin and the padding. So this describes how the margin will be set, and this describes the actual changing of the look of that typeface within that div, okay? So this is going to adjust, so let's go ahead and this tells you here you're going to adjust the margin of how that text is going to sit in there, and you're going to put some padding around it, okay? And again, if margin and padding don't make sense to you, you need to go back and look at that box model, and that will explain where margin takes it, how far a margin takes it and how far padding takes it, okay? So I'm going to come down here and copy this last code here, and I'm going to paste it right below the last CSS code that I pasted in here. I'm going to paste that in. This is going to control, again, it's calling out to the div banner, and it's saying, div banner, if you've got an H1 in there, I want you to apply this formatting. And indeed, it does have an H1, because if we go down here and look, here's an H1. There's our H1. So this CSS is calling out to an area within that div that's using H1, which is the word site name. So if I hit refresh, notice now over here that that text is centered in the middle, where before it was kind of skewed and it was sort of touching the edges and sitting down below in that box. Now it's centered in the middle, and just based on this information using margin and padding, we were able to adjust the way that sits in there. And then we changed the font size and the weight to bold, okay? So if you go back over here, you'll see that in the example, indeed, that is indeed what you were supposed to do and the result you were supposed to get, okay? All right, I think I'll do 7 because this one covers how to use the images I gave you, okay? So this one is talking about how to actually load in an image to give you a specific effect within the page itself, okay? So it's calling to this image. Now I've given you those images. Notice here that the name of the image is nav_call_base.jpg. And I've given you these images. If we go back here to Dreamweaver, okay, you'll notice that I have given you these images right here in your file listing. Here it is, okay? So I'm going to grab this code, and I'm going to go into Dreamweaver, and I'm going to paste it here. All right, now let's describe what's just happened here. Let me do a refresh. Now, as I do a refresh, I want you to watch what happens over here. Okay. Well, nothing yet. Sometimes you will not see your results. Actually, let's see. Oh, no, I know why you didn't see them, because we haven't made the modification yet. Okay. All right. So what we did here, we're calling out to div container this time. Okay. Looking down here in our HTML, here is our div container. So it's saying, hello, div container. This is what I want you to do. I want you to load in an image called navcallbase.jpg, and I want you to repeat that image, okay? However, the actual path to that image is, since we haven't saved our file yet, it doesn't know where that image is, Okay, so what you need to do at this point in order to work with these files is you're going to have to save this file. And when you do this, okay, when you do your file save as, I want you to save it into that folder that you're working on with your last name underscore CSS tutorial. And we're just going to call this, I'll call it tutorial 2 because I have one in there already. All right, so we're going to go ahead and hit save. Okay. Now, as soon as I save that file inside that grouping of images area, notice what has happened here. Now my image pops in here because before it was saved, it actually didn't have an area on the hard drive that it was referencing. But now that I've actually saved the document inside this folder, it now is referencing those images which are sitting at the root level of that document. Okay, so navcallbase.jpg is sitting right here, and as soon as I save that file in there, tutorial2.html, it found that image, and that image is right here, and it displayed it on the screen. Okay, so very important that you set up the files the way I told you to, otherwise you're going to have all kinds of issues with linking. All right. All right, now if you go back here and look at step 7, notice that that is indeed what you're supposed to have. Okay, and let's see, I'm not sure how long this tutorial is going. I think it's going a little bit long, so I am going to have to wrap up here, but what you're going to have to do then is go to the next step, which is step 9, and proceed with copying the code into your working HTML document over here in Dreamweaver. And as you paste the code in and hit refresh, I want you to watch what's happening over here in the design view. It'll also explain up here what you're doing with each one of these areas and what div you're calling out to. Okay, so that's what I'm expecting you to do. And when you're finished with the whole tutorial, it's going to look like this over here. Let me go ahead and put this. It's going to look like this back here. Okay, so that is the expectation for this week. You'll be turning in this entire folder to me with this HTML document along with the images, and that's what you'll get a grade on. So if you have any questions pertaining to that, you can post those in the week 7 problems and solutions. And good luck on that, and we'll see you in the threads.